Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. And thank you, Margaret, and Heidi and Gwen, and particularly my wife, Dusty. So I have a sort of rapid presentation to give you. I have 5 inventions that I think can help save the world. But first I want to tell you about my hat. My hat actually is made from this mushroom. And this mushroom is why I think a lot of us are here today. This mushroom allowed for the portability of fire. And you can hollow this mushroom out, pack embers of a fire into it, and carry fire for days. There's no doubt that we all migrated from Africa, and when we came into Europe, we discovered something new called winter. And if our and if our clan could not keep fire alive, our clan would die. I'm going to describe some inventions equally as important in the evolution of humans and life on this planet. And I really need to rock and roll on this magical mushroom mystery tour. So I'm going to take off this hat because it's quite hot. Actually, some ladies in Transylvania have kept the art alive. You boil this mushroom, you pound it, it separates into fiber, and it becomes this. It can be made into garments, hats, purses, coats, etc. So I'll put this down and give it to you, Larry. We are from the Northwest. This is not far from our place. Dusty and I like to go into the old-growth forest on Sundays. This is where we go to church. And in the old-growth forest is a hidden, invisible landscape of mycelium. You can't actually see it. But scientists wondered, how could hemlock trees in a dark forest gain enough nutrition to be able to survive? And indeed, it's because of translocation of nutrients from alder trees, quite distant, that would feed these small hemlocks. So the mycelium is a mothering organism that helps habitats survive. And infused in all the roots of most all plants, and through the stems and the leaves are endophytic fungi, saprophytic fungi, mycorrhizal fungi. Most of you are familiar with portobello-like mushrooms. This is actually a species called Agaricus brasiliensis that I co-authored. But most of you may not realize that we are more closely related to fungi than we are to any other kingdom. 600 million years ago, we diverged from fungi. There's a new super kingdom called Opisthokonta. And it was published 2 years ago. A group of 35 eukaryotic microbiologists postulated that indeed we are more closely related to fungi than we are to any other kingdom, and indeed we could be called mushroom people. So the mycelium is this root-like substance. You all have seen it. Just go out into the garden or find any log and tip it over. And what we grow mostly is saprophytic fungi. So we take wood chips, we add mycelium, lots of things happen. But at the end of the day, soil is created. Fungi are the grand molecular disassemblers in nature. And the consequence of their decomposition cycles spurs and supports many other life support systems of many other species. We grow mushroom mycelium on wood. This is actually a spored chainsaw oil. I used to be a logger, and I was amazed at how slowly the clear cuts took to rot. So I invented this, put spores in chainsaw oil that's biodegradable. So when you cut the logs, it would speed up the decomposition process. And we grow lots of mushrooms on straw as well as wood. This is 21 days after inoculation, 23 days, 25 days. Mushrooms move very, very quickly. They're running around you all the time. I'm also fascinated with how mushrooms rot. This is a rushless species, actually in a meadow in the old-growth forest. The mushrooms have great immune systems that prevent bacteria and other organisms from parasitizing them. But after they sporulate, they give themselves up. But the sequence of decomposition steers the subsequent colonies of bacteria and other organisms that benefit the surrounding ecosystem. So the spores germinate around the gills, and very soon this mycelium spreads subterraneanly into the environment. I spent many years as a scanning electron microscopist. I'm going to show you a few of my images. In a single cubic inch of soil, there can be more than 8 miles of these cells. In a single cubic inch. They're incredibly thin. And the mycelium creates microcavities that pulse and fill with water and air. So these are spongy environments. So myceliated soils tend to be soils that are very, very porous, but they hold water. And I inevitably, at the Evergreen State College, my reel-to-reel of several hundred hours of the Grateful Dead, etc., I thought, these look like neurological landscapes. And I was timid to first present this idea for many, many years. And this is the mycelium growing. This is photomicrographs by my friend Nick Reed. And notice what happens here. These are called nodes of crossing. These are nets. This is over 1 hour of time. The mycelium is moving all around you. And the mycelium is multinucleate, so these are packets of nuclei. And as the mycelium streams, it moves back and forth, and it's in constant biomolecular communication with this ecosystem. I first postulated in the 90s that the mycelium is Earth's natural internet. I believe evolution builds upon its prior successes, and the invention of the computer internet is an inevitable consequence of a previously proven evolutionary successful model. I first published this, and I got some criticism for it, but I'm really happy to say at Oxford University and Edinburgh this past year, 2 papers have been published that show that the mathematical algorithms and optima that underscore the creation of mycelium also matches that of computer internet theory. And so I think I've been validated from that point of view. These are photomicrographs by Hank Morgan of brain astrocytes. These are neurons, essentially, and synapses. And I'm going to go way out because this is part of my own personal philosophy. This is the aftermath of a supernova explosion. And mycelium and the internet and matter conforms to string theory. And going way back out now, this is from Scientific American, and the organization of dark matter also conforms to string theory, and these are individual galaxies. 7% of the matter of the universe cannot be observed. It is theorized as being in the form of dark matter. Frankly, this gives me a lot more peace and solitude about my own death, and I think that we'll fall back into this fabric, this great web, this great mycelial archetype.